If I was writing a cookbook, this recipe would definitely be in it. It's a 5-ingredient feta pesto. There are two things in this house that I have way too much of. One is feta and the other one is walnuts. So can you imagine how excited I was when I found this Carolina Glennon recipe for feta pesto? I love her recipes and I'm nearly positive I'm saying her name wrong, so I'm sorry. I would frequently use walnuts for my pesto because they're a lot cheaper than pine nuts, but feta in my pesto, I've never done that. So I made the recipe and I loved it. It tasted amazing. And then it became a week-long obsession about how can I freeze this pesto? How can I keep this pesto green? How can I use this pesto? We grow basil in our garden and we've had a bumper crop this year. So at first I used the Genovese basil and then I added in some lemon basil. We also have Thai basil, licorice basil, cinnamon basil, spice basil. It's so exciting. There's so many basils. One of the nice things about growing stuff at home is you can get varieties you can't just normally get at the grocery store. I'm calling this version of pesto Weeknight pesto because you just take all the ingredients, measure them out, put them in a food processor, and there you go. You have pesto. So I blended up all that pesto. I put some in a small jar, labeled it, and put it in the freezer to test later in the week. At the end, I'll answer the 6 questions that I have about every recipe I make. Does it taste good? Is it easy? Is it quick? How much does it cost? Can I make it in bulk? And is it freezable? Can you relate to this? You make this lovely green pesto, and then a half hour later, it starts turning brown. That's what was happening here. So I did some research about how to keep pesto green, and I'm happy to report that we found a solution. So this version I'm calling the weekend version of pesto. There's a few more steps, but I think it's worth it. You begin by quickly blanching your basil leaves and then putting them in an ice bath to cool down after you take them out of the boiling water. After they cool down, put them in a salad spinner to get the excess water off. Next, add your olive oil to the pan and then add some sliced garlic in there. Allow it to brown lightly and put your walnuts in there and cook for an additional minute. After all that cools down, you add your basil, the oil, walnut, and garlic mixture along with the feta and put it in the food processor. That day got busy, so I had to put this container in the fridge. And you can see, even after sitting in the fridge for a day, that one stayed green, while the weeknight pesto definitely changed in color. You could see that underneath the oil is the bright green color. So this is the first one that I froze, and I wanted to see how it tasted and the color. It definitely got darker the way the other one did, but it tasted good. All right, so we're back to day 1, and I used that pesto to make a pasta salad. Classic, right? This time I added some cooked lentils and whatever vegetables I had in the fridge. That happened to be red peppers and cucumbers. I do love a pesto pasta salad because it's a great base for just about anything you have in the fridge that you're trying to use up. I started to think, what else can I do with pesto? Because I sure do have a lot of it. So my next idea was to use some puff pastry to make a pesto stick. I don't know what to call it. So I had some puff pastry in the fridge and I just rolled it out nice and thin. And then I took the pesto that I had, the weekday pesto, and I just spread it on there because it's going to be cooked anyway. And I doubt any pesto will keep its green color after it's cooked. I sliced it, put it on a tray, gave it a little spin or twirl, and then I coated it with an egg wash and some sesame seeds. I cooked them based on the directions that were on the package, and then we had these fun, crispy little pesto sticks. It would probably be really good if you had something to dip it in, maybe something with like a sour cream or yogurt. I'm not really sure what to do with them. We just made them as an experiment, and I thought they came out really delicious. So there you go. So the next day I was thinking, what about on a sandwich? One of the things that's popular in our house are egg sandwiches. So I fried up 2 eggs and I got out some bread and toasted it on the skillet. And then I took the pesto, I smeared it on the bread, and then I put some Munster cheese with it. I actually forgot to film both of those parts. This was a great sandwich. I would say it would definitely be in rotation and one of those like top 10 sandwiches. Love to have it. What a breakfast sandwich. Look at that. It was so good. Next up, I was thinking, what about using pesto with beans? That sounds delicious. So I cooked up some dried lima beans that I had. I'm also trying to get things out of the pantry and out of the freezer. So I melted some butter, added some onions, cooked that down for a little bit, and then started looking at all the random little pieces of dairy that I had in the fridge. So we had some cream cheese and ricotta cheese, and I put those in there along with some milk and a little bit of flour to make like a roux. And I let that cook down for a little bit. And then after it was the consistency I was looking for, I added pesto to it. And while I really liked the flavor of the dish when it was finished, I felt like it was just a little bit too thick. So this was just kind of me randomly throwing things together. I would make it again, I just wouldn't add the flour. It had a nice richness to it. I served it with some broccoli, and that helped to cut some of the richness, but I would definitely try it again. After I finished this dish, I was wondering how is that weekend version that was in the freezer doing? And I took it out just to see if it had browned. It didn't. It's still just as green as it was the day that I made it. So I think we have a version that is freezer friendly and it will maintain its color. So that's really exciting. Plus, it tasted really good. And just when you thought there couldn't possibly be another way to use this pesto, we have one last recipe, and it's smashed potatoes with a pesto dip. I took some yellow potatoes that I had back in the pantry, boiled them until they were fork tender, and then put them on a baking tray, smashed them, had a little bit of olive oil sprinkled on top with salt and pepper, and then baked them at 450 until they were crisp. Next, I made a pesto mayo as a dipping sauce, and it's just equal parts pesto and mayo, and it's delicious. I remember having it at the sandwich place that I used to really love, and they would put that on their sandwiches. So that was the first time I ever had it. It's delicious. Now for the 6 questions I ask about every recipe that I have. The first question is it easy? And yes, it is. This would be great for a beginner, especially the weeknight version. And the weekend version isn't that much more complicated. It's more about technique because it is the same ingredients. You have to blanch and saute, but I would still say those are pretty easy. Next up, is it quick? Yes, the weeknight version is extremely quick, and the weekend version, the longest part is just letting things cool down before you combine them. And I ask myself, what does it cost? So this is a little trickier because we grew the basil and we grew the garlic and we were gifted the walnuts. So the only thing that cost us money was the feta and the olive oil. So for us, it was very cheap. For you, you might be in a different circumstance, so I don't know how to answer that. Next up is, can you make it in bulk? And yes, especially when you're doing the weekend version because you're blanching the basil leaves, which makes them not take up as much space in the food processor. And then the next question is, can you freeze it? And yes, you can freeze it. I was very excited about that. And lastly, how does it taste? I think this was amazing. I'm super happy with it, and I will definitely be using this recipe again.